The shitbag roundup of the Relief Valve podcast. I'd like to start off the show a little different every time. You know, not every time, but I have my own opening music, but I love the Benny Hill music. It's a classic. It's going to be another wacky show. Why not? Hopefully this is getting kicked off YouTube for copyright violations or some shit. All right, well, hello everyone, and welcome to the shitbag roundup of the Relief Valve podcast. This normally happens on Sunday. I was on vacation, so I spent the remainder of that time with my family and didn't get to the show yesterday. So we're going to do it today. Happy Monday, everyone. We're back to the work week, and we're back to the grind. It never really ends. And so much news is happening. Way too much for me to even get to here. Let me check my stuff here. Okay. So the biggest one, and I touched on this last week, was the Bud Light, the Anheuser-Bush controversy, and they sponsored Dylan Mulvaney, the transgender guy who believes he's a woman, and they sent him a special can straight from Budweiser, and it had his beautiful smiling face on the cans. Now, apparently these cans aren't for sale. I know you wanted a pack. I shot to the store immediately for mine, and I was very upset that I couldn't find them. But he got them as a personal gift from the company, and now they're facing a lot of controversy, like why are you alienating your consumer base? Why would you take an action like this? Everyone's really, a fair amount of people are really tired and fed up with the woke companies that are just giving into. We did the tranny bar, we did the Hershey's, did a transgender bar. Nike was also, I don't have that story in here, but Nike was promoting Dylan Mulvaney as well and here's the ridiculousness of it all. A sports bra for women. So a new sports bra brand that Nike was coming out with and promoting. They had a man, a young boy-looking man, because he's very slender guy, whatever the hell he is. I don't know. And he's wearing the sports bra, and he's in workout clothes, and he's doing a promotional thing on his TikTok for Nike. So this really kind of goes to show the insanity of it all. When you have a man with no breasts showing off a sports bra for women, biological women, to purchase and use during their workouts. This is the ridiculous of the whole thing. Now, of course, Nike is so woke and so fucking, upside down. I mean, they use slave labor in China to make their shoes and do everything else. They don't give a fuck about what your opinion is. They're paying kids 25 cents an hour. You think they care? They didn't like their transgender sports bra support? They don't give a fuck. So apparently they were coming out and talking shit, and you're all bigots and all of that. But Anheuser-Bush, let's get into a little bit more detail of this, because I've got this story, and then I've got a follow-up one, because they tried to fix their mistake a little bit here. So the CEO of Anheuser-Busch has released a statement titled, "Our Responsibility to America," following the controversy over a partnership deal with transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney. In the statement released Friday, Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth did not explicitly address the controversy, but suggested that it was a misstep in the company's messaging. Whoopsie! "We never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people," Whitworth said. "We are in the business of bringing people together over a beer. My time serving this country taught me the importance of accountability and the values upon which America was founded. Apparently you forgot about some along the way. Freedom, hard work, and respect for one another," he added. "As CEO of Anheuser-Busch, I'm focused on building and protecting our remarkable history and heritage." He said, "Moving forward, I will continue to work tirelessly to bring great beer to consumers across our nation." This statement follows backlash to Bud Light's branding partnership with Mulvaney, which prompted boycotts and public criticism from celebrities, including musicians Kid Rock, Travis Tritt. Mulvaney posted a video on Instagram promoting a Bud Light sweepstakes competition and showed a beer can with his face on it that said that the company had sent him. In a statement addressing the controversy, Anheuser-Busch said, "From time to time, we produce unique commemorative cans for fans, And they've never made me a can. I don't buy Bud anymore, any of their product, but I used to be. They never offered me a commemorative can. And for brand influencers like Dylan Mulvaney, well, I guess that's not entirely true, right? Because they come out with the cans during the Super Bowl, or the Tom Brady can, or different stuff like that, or 4th of July cans and stuff. So I guess that's for us common folks, us plebes. That's the commemorative can that you are able to purchase. But if you're a transgender influencer on TikTok, they will, for free, create a custom one for you and then send it to you. This commemorative can was a gift to celebrate a personal milestone for him, which was being a woman for 365 days or whatever the hell it was. And it's not for sale for the general public because they were at least not smart enough to put a tranny can on the shelves. The New York Times reported. The fallout from the controversy also saw threats made to an Anheuser-Busch distributor in Missouri, resulting in the cancellation of some events involving the company's iconic Clydesdale horses, Newsweek reported. So there's the first part of that story. So we're going to get into a little more here. And so they additionally came out and said it was like a 35-year-old woke corporate member within their structure that came up with this ad campaign and came up with this push, and they didn't really know anything about it. This was all her brainchild, and she was the one that pushed it because she felt that they had to extend brand recognition to another group of the country, a group that they were kind of missing out on. So it was like these young millennials, transgenders, or maybe like more of the LGBTQ community, whatever it was. So they claim that this chick just did whatever, moved on this, and they had no fucking clue. Which I don't buy. Like, you don't turn on a TV, you have no idea what's going on in America currently. You don't even if you don't know names, or you don't know specific people, you're not aware of the hot topics and the things that are going on. I call bullshit on this. I know Don Trump Jr. Just recently came out and said that we shouldn't be boycotting Anheuser-Busch. And then he said, the conservatives were like, ready, fire, aim on this, and we were attacking them prematurely rather than giving them a chance to come out of the spiral, because under normal circumstances, it's a mostly conservative company, with them supporting 60% to Republicans and 40% to Democrats. So we shouldn't be attacking them. We should be allowing them to dig out of this hole and come out of it. And I say no to that. I say the 40% going to Democrats is about 39.5% too much. Democrats are trying to destroy this country, take away our rights, make us go bankrupt, and grind this country into the ground. And if you're a company that has half a functioning brain and the want to make money from a consumer base, you don't support the Democratic Party, because they are against you. They are against big corporate. They're against everything that you stand for. Charging people money for a product and making money and a profit off of those purchases. The Democrats are not for you. Behind closed doors, they accept payments from you, and they accept campaign donations from you. But in the media limelight, into everybody watching in their voting base, they're 100% against you. So I say that Don Jr.'s wrong. I don't agree with him. You should continue to boycott Anheuser-Busch until a full apology and a full back off and turnaround from this comes back. Because, and Tim Pool on his show, and when they were having a conversation about this, was making really good points. And because everyone's afraid of the radical left, and they're afraid of Antifa and the attacks that come at them. So to apologize, to come right out and apologize to everyone, is to rebuke all of that. It's to say we're more afraid of the money and the consumer base that we're losing by making decisions like this than we are of you. So if they don't apologize, they're still afraid of them, and they're hoping that we're just, with our short memories, that this is going to blow over. They're going to put out a pro-American can, which I'm going to get into, and a 4th of July can, and you're going to go, fuck yeah, man! And you're going to go back to buying Anheuser-Busch product, and you're just going to go, you know what, fuck, I just want a beer. I don't fucking care. This was like 3 months ago. I don't care about it anymore. I just want a beer. And they're going to get away with it. And they know that if they just wait it out and let it blow over, for the most part in these situations, and it ends
bundle with NJM.
It ends up with sorry, I had a
Save us
stupid
from
commercial
headaches,
come
too.
through for some reason. So, even government officials know this. They know that the American voter has a short memory. They know that given enough time ignoring a subject, you'll forget that the subject was ever really an issue. It'll go to the back of your mind because there's more important things and more stuff about your family and everything going on that in that mental filing cabinet, you don't have enough to hold on to all of this stuff. So, especially these woke companies too, they know that even with this one, even bad publicity is still publicity. So they still got something from this. And then it's eventually going to blow over, and everybody that needs their beer fix or is I only drink Bud because fuck Coors and whatever else, they're all eventually going to come trickling back, and their profits are going to even back out again. And I say, I'm still boycotting them. Keep boycotting them until the proper response to this comes out. And then it's a message to all the other companies too. Boycott Nike. For the same thing. Don't buy their overpriced slave-made shoes. Don't support them in any way. Don't support their workout gear. Don't support any of their shit. Until they learn a lesson, which they're never going to do, because they're a woke corporation. So, as long as there's even $1 to be made and an agenda to be pushed, Nike will never learn. But there's a possibility here that Anheuser-Busch might learn, and then it will prompt others to see that and go, whoa, if their profits can take a hit like that, what can happen to us? And they can start backing off of some of this craziness. So let's get into the newest information coming out on this. So Budweiser's new pro-America ad sets social media ablaze. Can't put the genie back in the bottle, guys. The company's new ad features one of Budweiser's famous Clydesdale horses passing iconic American landmarks. Budweiser's new pro-America ad set Twitter ablaze over the weekend as critics derided the company for a misguided attempt at quelling the backlash over Bud Light's endorsement partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Budweiser's latest advertisement, which was released on social media Friday, features one of the brand's famous Clydesdale horses traversing the country from New York City to the Grand Canyon, passing by scenes in the American heartland as a narrator delivers a patriotic message. This is a story bigger than beer, the ad's narrator says in the ad. This is the story of the American spirit. As the ad plays, the Clydesdale horses pass by some of the most famous American landmarks, showcasing the New York City skyline, the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., small towns, and farmland. At one point, the ad showcases two people raising an American flag as one places her hand over her heart. The ad also makes reference to September 11th and was intended to bring people together, according to CEO Brendan Whitworth. Brewed for those who found opportunity and challenge and hope in tomorrow, the ad's narrator says as the horses pass by the flag-raising duo. I'm going to play some of the video now. We're not getting sound. Why are we not getting sound? Hold on here. I'm going to fix this. We're going to get it right.
About a beer.
About a beer and a transgender man. All right, here we go.
Let me tell you a story.
Tell you a story.
About a beer.
About a beer and a tranny.
Rooted in the heart of America. Found in a community where a handshake is a sure contract. Brewed for those who found opportunity and challenge and hope in tomorrow. Raised by generations, willing to sip, share, risk, remember. This is a story bigger than beer. This is the story of the American spirit.
This Bud's for you and your Barbie pouch. All right, so there's the there's a commercial. I know for our audio viewers, other than the narration, that really didn't do a lot for you, but it's got, you know, the iconic Clydesdale. You love to see those things. It's as I said, running through different areas, over the Brooklyn Bridge, through like fields of Iowa, and you got, you know, a couple just regular working folks sitting on the deck of a country house with one of those wraparound decks, right? So in this commercial, they're trying to reappeal again to their main base, which is us regular working plebes, who are just, you know, leathernecks. We're out there in the grind, doing our thing. We're not a CEO. We're not a TikTok influencer or a skateboarder, right? We're hardworking people, living off the sweat of our brow and the pain in our back, right? So they're trying to reappeal to that base again. So, in my opinion, this is almost like hey, you know, so the transgender thing was over here, but hey, we're still here for you guys. We're still the beer for hard-working folk. Come on back. And I say, you fucked up. Don't do that. So the patriotic ad comes as Anheuser-Bush, which owns Budweiser, continues to deal with the backlash over a partnership between another one of his popular brands, Bud Light and Mulvaney. The partnership has caused a significant financial loss for the brand, as calls to boycott the beer have spread across the country. The new ad seeks to move away from the controversial partnership with patriotic messaging and imagery, but online critics said Budweiser's feeble attempt to regain support is in poor taste and urged the brand to apologize instead, you know, referencing this video here. And I agree. Hey, at Anheuser-Busch, one person wrote, if you're at a point where you're literally referencing 9/11 in hopes that it would make us flyover yokels run to the store to salute a 12-pack of Bud Light, you should just apologize instead. Hoping we're stupid enough to buy this ad is insulting. Red State senior editor Brandon Morse tweeted. Matthew Marsden said, you aren't putting the genie back in the bottle. Budweiser released pro-American ad 2 weeks after Dylan Mulvaney backlash. Former trans influencer and detransition activist Ollie London. I saw him interviewed by Tim Pool. He was really interesting, and I encourage you to go to it's the Culture War podcast. I think it's one of the new branch offs that Tim Pool did, and he actually interviewed him, and it was a really interesting interview. Is an interesting person. His story is interesting. You know, he's detransitioned. He's gotten away from all of that. He was trying to be Korean. You know, obviously I'm not going to get into the whole hour interview, but it's big if you're there to try and look more Korean, look more K-pop starish and all that, and that's what he went for with thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in surgeries and changes. But anyway, former trans influencer and detransition activist Ollie London tweeted, the new advert comes after Anheuser-Busch CEO released a statement which failed to apologize for the backlash and instead talked about traditional values and being pro-American. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton slammed corporate owners for trying to pretend their support of transgender extremists who targets children never happened. Nice try at Budweiser USA and Bud Light, former U.S. Attorney Brett Tolman responded. Ha 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 ha! Budweiser new ad shows the freedom. This is Tim Dillon, who's been on Joe Rogan, if I'm not mistaken, and he's gay man, and he's funny. Budweiser new ad shows a freedom tower and horses. If they ended it by saying investigate 9/11, I would be like, that's dope. Comedian Tim Dillon wrote. Soul Finder series creator Douglas Ernst posted a meme of a screaming woman with the caption, "Bring out the Clydesdales." LOL, hard pivot, huh? Chair of the Libertarian National Committee, Angela McCardle, tweeted. This is a we're sorry ad. Notice the American flag, working class farmers, freedom, power, everything I said in the video, all American values. High budget production compared to the selfie camera recorded video by Dylan Mulvaney. They know they fucked up, video producer Damon Imani wrote. Gay writer Kurt Thigpen also took issue with the brand's 180-degree shift. Looks like they put this ad out to rehabilitate their image. Notice there are no LGBTQ plus folks. Cool, 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 he wrote. Anheuser-Bush CEO Brendan Whitworth addressed the controversy for the first time Friday, issuing a statement saying the company never intended to divide the people, but stopped short of apologizing for the Mulvaney campaign. For our visual viewers here is the custom Bud Light, the custom Bud Light can. I'm going to get ahead of myself. Custom Bud Light can that they sent to Dylan Mulvaney. So it's his beautiful smiling face on the can. It looks absolutely horrific. I'm being facetious. It looks absolutely horrific. He looks like his face is out of a horror movie. And then at the top of the can, it's like, congratulations for 365 days of being a woman, because that's what this guy has been celebrating. That he's been getting major surgeries to himself. He's been getting his jawline shaved down to appear more feminine, and just different modifications that he's doing to himself, so he looks more effeminate now. And apparently he's gone 1 full year as being a woman. And I don't know, maybe if you hit the 365-day mark, you are officially a woman at that point. I haven't read that rule anywhere, but it's possible it's a new rule. There's a lot of rules changing around here. We have thousands of partners, millions of fans, and a proud history supporting our communities. Military first responders, sports fans, and hardworking Americans everywhere, Whitworth said. We never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. We are in the business of bringing people together over a beer. So there's that, and I don't think they got into. The one thing they didn't get into was the person that was part of, the person who actually thought up this, what they had to say, what I brought up earlier in the show, the person that came up with this campaign, and how they were trying to kind of distance her from themselves from her a little bit. Like, oh, well, she set up this whole campaign, and she just kind of rolled with it, and she was our new, fucking diversity manager or, PR person, and we just kind of let her run with it. No idea who Dylan Mulvaney is, trying to bullshit their way out of it. So I'm going to continue to boycott Anheuser-Busch, boycott Nike, boycott any of the woke companies. And I encourage all of you to do the same. The best way to fight back, they're never really going to stop with the woke crap, but the best way to fight back against them is using your wallet, right? It's not violence. It's not attacking the horses or doing something like that. It's fighting back with your wallets, because if everyone stopped buying Anheuser-Busch, for the sake of argument, if everyone stopped buying Anheuser-Busch product tomorrow, I mean, the company would be in a free fall, and they'd be going out of business, right? And then they would learn a very serious lesson, the last lesson in business that they would ever learn, and they would be a message and a warning to every other company out there that wants to take the same track. So and bear something else in mind too. Anheuser-Busch has multiple products. They own multiple side companies. It's not just Budweiser and Bud Light. So I did it on one of my previous shows, last week's show. I think it was Sunday. Go back to that show, and I detail the majority of all the other brands that they own: Celerod Toy, Shock Top, and others. So go back there. Make sure you don't purchase any of their product. And other people have been throwing shit up again to have the argument and going, "Oh, you're gonna buy Coors? Here's Coors with the pride flag on it." Like, all right, so a lot of companies have done the pride support or something else, but they didn't choose a transgender person as their spokesperson. Like, there should be a line that you shouldn't cross. If you want to do a pride can, go ahead and do the pride can. None of us have to buy it, right? But don't turn the pride thing into your entire advertising scheme and just make your company out of that and nothing else. Still be the core of what you're doing, which is just providing a product to the consumers. Don't become this new woke thing, right? Because woke doesn't work. You remember David Hogg, the kid that pretended he was involved in the shooting at I forget which school he was at, but he was like down the road riding his bicycle there while the shooting at the school was happening. And then he played off trying to become a well-known person by how traumatized he was that he was in 10 miles of a shooting while he was riding his fucking bike there. And in order to try and compete with the My Pillow guy, they tried to start their own left-wing pillow company. And the thing pretty much spiraled and crashed right from the get-go. Because go woke, go broke is more than a saying. It's the American people don't want that. If you'd like to live an alternative lifestyle, go ahead and do it. But don't shove it down our throats. We don't want it. And your company's going to fail, or the message should be, your company's going to fail if you decide to take this track anyway, right? I mean, it's a free country. It's your business. If you want to go 100% woke, go 100% woke. But face the financial consequences of your actions when you decide to make that decision. And Anheuser-Bush should face that. Nike should face that. And any other company that's pushing this should face that as well. Record losses. That's what I want to see, is record losses. So I want to keep seeing all that Budweiser product on the shelf, everyone. I'm going to boycott. I encourage you to boycott. And this is how we fight back against all this, is send out a very clear message. We don't want it. We don't want it in our lives. It's a very clear, easy message to send if we stay on point. And again, I've said this in previous shows, the conservative mindset is live and let live. If you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. But the problem is they're not going to leave you alone. They're going to keep shoving this down your throat until you've got a rainbow flag coming out of your ass. When you do that, you're good. And they'll leave you alone. Well, until they come up with the next thing that you need to be okay with. But you'll never get left alone. So fighting back now is the way. We waited too long to fight back. The fight needs to happen now. And this is one of the many ways you can do it. Fight back with your wallet. Don't drink their product. There's plenty of other stuff out there. If you have to and you feel strongly enough about it, buy your own kit from like a fucking local distillery or vineyard or something else and brew your own shit at home with the kit. Like, anything, if you feel strongly enough about it, is my point, then support these woke companies. Send a lesson and a message that they can't ignore. Okay, so moving on to the next part here, and there's a lot to this, so I'm going to try and blast through it a little bit, because they get some of these people write a thing and they just go fucking on and on and on and on, like a 300-page book. So we're talking about the 21-year-old service member. He was serving on a base in Massachusetts, and he's the one that leaked these documents that are giving us all kinds of information about hidden information, that what the war's going on with the Ukraine, what the information the American government has on Russia. So I've been curious about this, and I wanted to get even a little bit of it. So this first part here, Americans should demand accountability and the truth from its leaders. We can't just shrug off the Pentagon documents leak. So President Joe Biden's public pronouncements about the war in Ukraine ring hollow in light of the recently leaked intelligence documents. Congress and the American people must demand accountability, truth, and not more lies before we're led into another war or something much worse. Unfortunately, the mainstream media have twisted the story about the allegation that a 21-year-old National Guardsman leaked finished intelligence products on gaming internet sites. The myopically focus on the leaker, his crime, and not on the substance of the leaked material in order to protect President Joe Biden. So yeah, as quick as they could, within a week, they found this kid, locked him down, and they went after him. By the way, we're still waiting for the leaker from the Supreme Court that leaked out that they were discussing Roe versus Wade, and they were going to make a judgment on it. So in one building, they can't find who the leaker was that illegally let all of that information out to the press to get everyone fired up and start violence from the pro-life side and the pro-abortion side. But this kid with national secrets that could be that are harmful to Joe Biden, we got to nail him in 1 week's time. Unfortunately, the mainstream media have twisted the story about the. However, we need to ask the president is lying in our role in Ukraine, which could have grave consequences for us all. The fact is, historically, presidents lied to the American people about wars. Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1940 lied to Americans that your boys are not going to be sent into any foreign wars. Besides, at that time, we were providing lethal aid to the United Kingdom. We went to war after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941. President Lyndon B. Johnson lied about the threat posed by the North Vietnamese to preserve his political power. In 1964, Johnson told an Akron, Ohio election campaign crowd, "We are not about to send American boys 9 or 10,000 miles away from home to do what Asian boys ought to be doing for themselves." Then, after being elected, LBJ sent U.S. combat troops to the jungles of Vietnam, lying to the American people about the attack on U.S. forces in the Gulf of Tonkin, eventually deploying 500,000 personnel until our withdrawal in 1975, with our tail tucked in at the cost of more than 58,000 American lives. So for the visual people here, here's a 21-year-old kid. He's taking a selfie. He's in his military uniform. President George W. Bush lied about the reason we invaded Iraq to eliminate weapons of mass destruction. Before the war, CIA Director George Tenet warned Bush not to use sketchy intelligence about Iraq. Bush knew Saddam Hussein no longer had an arsenal of WMDs, and yet the president misled the American people. And after the 2003 invasion, officials confirmed Iraq had abandoned his program years earlier. Other presidents in our history lied to the American people about war. James Polk lied about Mexico invading the U.S., which led to the Mexican-American War because he wanted to add Texas as another slave state. William McKinney lied that the Spanish had blown up the USS Maine warship in Havana Harbor, which led to the Spanish-American War. It could be President Biden is lying about our role in Ukraine war, much as past presidents lied. Certainly, some of the leaked intelligence suggests that the war in Ukraine isn't going as swimmingly as Biden and his administration have suggested. Unfortunately, Biden's apologists in the mainstream media focus on the leaker. That's really only a small part of the broader story. If, in fact, the young airman arrested is found guilty of leaking, he'll pay a price. However, the real story is the content and material shared across the internet. Does it paint a different story than what Biden administration has told the American people? Is Biden lying to the American people, and if so, why? So blah, 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 blah. This is what I'm fucking talking about. They go on and on to fucking glorify themselves. Like, I don't give a fuck about you. I want the information. So let me see if I can glean any useful information out of this other than what I just gave you. So cool. Okay, so they don't say anything useful there other than that, which is what the fucking news is supposed to be there for. So let's go into the intelligencer here. What secrets are leaked to the Pentagon documents and who leaked them? So we're going to skim over some of this because I already told you about the... So it revealed national security secrets regarding Ukraine, Russia, Asia, and the Middle East, as well as details about U.S. espionage methods in spying on adversaries and allies. The Pentagon has confirmed the leak's authenticity, and while the documents have been made available online for months, U.S. officials weren't aware of the leak until April 6th, the day it was reported by the New York Times. The Justice Department quickly opened an investigation, and within a week, as I said, the FBI arrested the 21-year-old suspected leaker, National Guard Airman Jack Teixeira. Below is what we know about the leak in Teixeira thus far, including what secrets the documented reveal. So I'll give you a little bit about the kid and kind of why he was doing it. Allegedly, federal agents have arrested the suspected leaker, Jack Teixeira, 21-year-old technology staffer with the Massachusetts Air National Guard Intelligence Wing. On Friday, Teixeira was charged in a federal court in Boston with one count of unauthorized retention and transmission of national defense information, as well as a second count of unauthorized removal and retention of classified documents or material. Both are violations of the Espionage Act. The Washington Post initially reported Wednesday night that according to members of the small invitation-only Discord chat, Discord is like primarily for people who video game, a chat community where the leaked intel first appeared, the person who posted them was a charismatic gun enthusiast in his early 20s who created the group and apparently worked on a U.S. military base. By the time he was identified as Teixeira by the New York Times, federal agents were already closing in. Teixeira, who comes from a military family, serves in the U.S. Air Force's 102nd Intelligence Wing, which is part of the Massachusetts Air National Guard Base out of Otis Air National Guard Base on Cape Cod. He was arrested Thursday afternoon without incident outside his childhood home in North Dayton, Massachusetts. Investigators quickly zeroed in on Texera, who has held top-secret clearance information since 2021, or has top-secret clearance since 2021, and according to the criminal complaint filed against him, used his government computer and clearance to search for information about the efforts to identify him. The Post adds that Texera had access to the Joint World Wide Web Intelligence Communications System, an internal Defense Department hub for top-secret information, according to a U.S. official. Members of the private Discord group told the Post the leaker, whom they referred to as OG, shared hundreds of posts revealing government secrets over a period of months. Initially, transcriptions of classified intel he had read and retyped, and then eventually photographs of the original documents. According to the criminal complaint against Texera, he told a member of the group that he stopped copying the documents by hand because he was worried someone at work would discover him. The Post reports that Texera seemed to believe it was his responsibility to educate the other members of the Discord group about the world as it truly was. So I don't blame him for that. So they say the gathering spot had been a pandemic refuge, particularly for the teen. Gamers locked in their houses and cut off from their real-world friends. The members swapped memes, offensive jokes, and idle chit-chat. They watched movies together, joked around, and prayed. But OG has also lectured them about world affairs and secretive government operations. He wanted to keep us in the loop, the member said, and seemed to think that this insider knowledge would offer the others protection from the troubled world around them. So they talk about him being at a rifle range and then accusing him of being a conservative. Like that matters. But group members have also told reporters that the leaks seem more motivated by bravado than anything else. One of Texera's handles in the group was called Jack the Dripper. The Post, in its report on the source of the leak, said it reviewed approximately 300 photos of classified documents, as well as text posts that apparently transcribe other intelligence reports. Much of the media coverage is focused on a collection of about 100 documents from the leak. From the Post reporting, it appears much more material than that was originally leaked, though most of the documents don't appear to have been made public. The surface files are photographs of briefing documents and slides, mostly prepared in February and March based on intel collected by the NSA, CIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, DEA, and National Reconnaissance Office, which manages U.S. spy satellites. Markings on the documents indicate that some were cleared for sharing with allies, while others were designated for U.S. eyes only, which was a major clue that they came from an American source. Many of the documents appear to have been prepared for, Mark Milley, the one that's still trying to find white anger. He's an angry white guy that's but he's definitely not a racist or anything. He's an angry white guy that's looking for other angry white guys, because he doesn't like angry white guys while simultaneously being an angry white guy. So Mark Milley is the traitor who was in the Trump administration, is still in office now. He is the traitor that reached out to China and said that I think our leader is crazy, and if he's gonna do some sort of attack, or he's gonna take some sort of action, I'll call you guys and I'll make you aware that we're taking some sort of action. So the man's a traitor. He should have been tried immediately. He was working against his president and against the interests of the United States, and this fucking piece of shit is still a Joint Chief. But I digress. Mark Milley, the shitbag, is chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, though anyone with a high enough security clearance would have had access to them. It appears the documents in the first tranche of images are likely part of a classified briefing that was folded and removed to somewhere where the pages could be photographed. The New York Times has been able to match up details in the margins of the images with details in the photos of the suspected leaker's family home. Some of the circulating leaked documents appear to have been doctored, but apparently that was done by pro-Russia propagandists after they were leaked. Sure, they were, just like the backing of Russia by Trump, right? And it turned out it was Hillary Clinton and who she was hiring to do the job. So let's see if we can get into a little bit of what the documents are. This is why they go, look at this. Look at where the marker is. It fucking take me the rest of the day to go through what these assholes are blabbing on about. Like, get to the point. So here's some of the things that came out about it, that came out from the leak that we're aware of currently. The leaked documents also contain top secret information about 4 additional Chinese spy balloons that the U.S. intelligence agencies knew about in February. After another one of the balloons flew across the continental U.S. before being shot down, the documents include annotated images, including one taken of the transcontinental balloon apparently taken by a U-2 spy plane, pointing out the balloon's similarities and assessing what they appeared to be equipped with. The Chinese spy balloon that flew over the United States this year, called Killian 23, by U.S. intelligence agencies, carried a raft of sensors and antennas. The U.S. government still had not identified more than a week after shooting it down, according to a document. Another balloon flew over a U.S. carrier strike group in a previously unreported incident, and a third crashed in the South China Sea. A second top-secret document stated, though it did not provide specific information for launch dates. A document produced by the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and dated February 15th, 10 days after the Air Force shot down the balloon that flew over the United States, contains the most detailed government assessments to date of Killian 23 and the 2 balloons from previous years, labeled Bulger 21 and Ricardo 21. And if you're thinking, Bulger sounds familiar, why are the Chinese naming their balloons after gangsters? Because they were. It was some sort of inside joke, but all of those spy balloons were named after mobsters. The U.S. has achieved deep penetration of most Russian security and intelligence agencies. Another thing we learned from it. The New York Times and Washington Post report that the documents indicate the U.S. has gained access to most of Russia's security and intelligence services and high levels of Russian military command. It has intercepted communications within Russia's defense ministry, gained insight into the internal planning of Russia's military intelligence agency, GRU, and obtained actionable intelligence on Russia's military capabilities and war plans in Ukraine, many of which the U.S. likely passed along to Kyiv. Russia's elite special forces have been decimated by the war in Ukraine, this also says. The Washington Post reports that classified assessments in the leaked documents indicate that the conflict has gutted Russia's Spetsnaz forces, in large part due to their misuse of Russian commanders, and it may take as long as a decade to build the forces back up again. Typically, Spetsnaz personnel are assigned the sorts of stealthy, high-risk missions, including an apparent order to capture Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky, for which they received some of the Russian military's most advanced training. But when Moscow launched its full-scale invasion last year, senior commanders, eager to seize momentum and skeptical of their conventional fighters' prowess, deviated from the norm, ordering elite forces into direct combat, according to U.S. intelligence findings and independent analysis who have closely followed Spetsnaz developments. The rapid depletion of Russia's commando units, observers say, shifted the war's dynamic from the outset, severely limiting Moscow's ability to employ clandestine tactics in support of conventional blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's go on here. The FSB accused Russia's defense ministry of obfuscating Russia's casualties in Ukraine. Per the New York Times, the documents capture infighting and finger-pointing among Russian agencies responsible for different aspects of the war, including one report noting a dispute over the actual human cost of the conflict. In one document, American intelligence officials say that Russia's main domestic intelligence agency, the Federal Security Service, or FSB, has accused the country's defense ministry of obfuscating Russian casualties in Ukraine. The finding highlights the continuing reluctance of military officials to convey bad news up the chain of command, they say. The entry dated February 28th in a document with a series of updates about the war in Ukraine and other global hotspots appears to be based on electronic intercepts collected by American intelligence agencies. The FSB officials, the document says, contend that the ministry's toll did not include the dead and wounded among the Russian National Guard, the Wagner mercenary force, or fighters fielded by Ramzan Kadyrov, the strongman leader of the Southern Russian Republic of Chechnya. It also shows the U.S. is spying on top allies, including Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. The U.S. intelligence report, which is sourced to Signals Intelligence, says that Zelensky, in late February, suggested striking Russian deployment locations in Russia's Rostov Oblast using unmanned... Mike Pompeo is making an announcement in the 2024 presidential run. It was American military news. That's interesting. Using unmanned aerial vehicles, since Ukraine does not have long-range weapons capable of reaching that far. Although it's not unexpected that the U.S. will be monitoring Ukraine's leadership, Ukraine has publicly attempted to discredit the disclosures, and Ukrainian officials are reportedly furious about the leaked intel, which has forced Kyiv to make changes to its spring offensive plans. The leaked documents also reveal that the U.S. had intercepted recent discussions with South Korean leadership on whether to break policy and provide military aid to Ukraine via an intermediary country. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has since attempted to downplay the breach and the subsequent scandal it has caused in his country. The U.S. doubts Ukraine's spring offensive will make significant gains. U.S. intelligence assessments from early February expressed serious doubt about Ukraine's ability to take back a great deal of Russian-occupied territory this spring. According to a review of one of the leaked documents by the Washington Post, the upcoming offensive is likely to produce only modest territorial gains, owing to Ukraine's lack of equipment, ammunition, and troops. The document said it also noted that enduring Ukrainian deficiencies in training and munitions supplies probably will strain progress and exacerbate casualties during this offensive. They also say that Russia's Wagner Group tried to purchase weapons from Turkey through Mali. Egypt's president secretly planned to send rockets to Russia. There's another interesting one. According to a leaked top secret document from mid-February, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, just call me Sisi, secretly ordered the production and shipment of as many as 40,000 rockets to Russia, the Washington Post reports. Egypt, a longtime key U.S. ally in the Middle East, are we sure? Has publicly maintained a policy of non-involvement toward the war in Ukraine, and in a statement on the Post, the Foreign Ministry suggested that the policy has not changed. Regarding the rocket plan, an anonymous U.S. official also told the Post, "We are not aware of any execution of that plan. It's not clear how far the plan has progressed, assuming the leaked intel is accurate, nor is it clear how such a move would have impacted the relationship between the U.S. and Egypt." Russia almost shot down a UK surveillance plane near Ukraine. I read that story to you last week. They claimed that the missile launch was due to a technical malfunction, but they actually fired the missile, and then the missile malfunctioned after launch, I think, and it missed the British plane. Russian intelligence officers claim the United Arab Emirates wanted to help work against the U.S. and UK, and Biden has pissed off the Arab Emirates. So he pissed them off with the gas thing and pressuring them about lower prices so the Democrats could do better in the midterms, which again is a traitorous act against a country, and Biden should be facing charges and impeachment over that. He tried to sway a U.S. election by having another foreign country interfere in it by making a change in the positive to help his party. So he should be impeached and arrested on that alone. But the Associated Press reports that one document dated March 9th reported that in mid-January, FSB officials claimed UAE security officials in Russia had agreed to work together against the US and UK intelligence agencies. According to newly acquired Signals Intelligence, the AP adds that it is not clear if there is any such agreement as described in the UAE-Russia document, or whether the alleged FSB claims were intentionally or unintentionally misleading, and that the UAE has called the claim categorically false. Russian hackers working with Moscow claim to have accessed Canada's natural gas infrastructure. So that's interesting. And intercept electronic communications between the pro-Russian hacking group Zarya and officers with the Russia's FSB security service, in which the hackers said they had breached a Canadian gas pipeline company and gained access to its control systems. The hackers reportedly shared screenshots of their access with the officers and claimed the breach gave them the ability to increase valve pressure, disable alarms, and initiate an emergency shutdown of the facility. The leaked briefing did not identify the Canadian company or the facility. It said the hackers claimed that they did unspecified damage, causing profit loss for the company, and that the FSB told the hackers to maintain their access and await further instructions. After the news of the alleged hack surfaced, the Globe and Mail reported that it was unable to verify the claims and noted there is no evidence to date that a natural gas pipeline company in Canada suffered such an attack. But they could be saying that so they don't panic the people. But a U.S. government source who closely follows critical infrastructure incidents in the U.S. said they heard chatter a while back that something had occurred at a Canadian gas facility, but was not aware of anyone confirming that any physical impact had occurred. Mossad leaders purportedly encouraged protests against Netanyahu's judicial overhaul in Israel. So you've got the terrorist group Mossad interfering in Israelis' affairs. Russia's Wagner Group mercenaries looked into working in Haiti, so they're trying to go over there. China held secret negotiations with Nicaragua over building a new port in the Caribbean. As many as 50 British special forces were in Ukraine this year. U.S. and French special forces were there too. And when I finish up here, I'm going to read you one that says, we have boots on the ground. So, and we were told that no American boots were going to go on the ground. Whatever equipment, tanks, or whatever else we were going to do, there weren't going to be boots on the ground. Now there is. And that turns it into a direct, not just a proxy conflict at this point, but a direct conflict. Serbia, a quasi-ally of Russia, agreed to arm Ukraine. So there's some of the stuff there from the leaked document. And we're already 50 minutes in, so I'm not going to keep going and going. But American military news here, U.S. troops deployed in Ukraine, Biden spokesperson confirms. The U.S. has confirmed there is a small U.S. military presence deployed in Ukraine after leaked documents indicated several Western countries had special forces units on the ground amid Russia's invasion. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby told Fox News on Wednesday U.S. troops are in Ukraine but are not fighting on the battlefield. They're there, but they're just hanging out playing cards. I won't talk to the specifics of numbers and that kind of thing, he said. There's a small U.S. military presence at the embassy in conjunction with the defense attaché's office to help us work on accountability of the material that is going in and out of Ukraine. So they're attached to that embassy and to the defense attaché, he added. The comment came after a leaked top-secret document that we were just going through indicated 14 U.S. Special Forces units were in Ukraine, as well as 50 from the UK and 33 from other NATO members. The Associated Press previously reported that a small number of U.S. forces had begun doing on-site inspections in Ukraine to make sure weapons from Western countries are properly accounted for. A defense attaché is a military service member appointed to an embassy abroad as a representative of the country's military. In Ukraine, U.S. defensive attachés advise U.S. ambassador and other personnel on all defense and security matters and provide timely, accurate information to senior leaders on defense and security issues affecting Ukraine and the region, according to the office's website. The Ukrainian Defense Attaché consists of representatives from 4 military branches and interacts across a broad spectrum with the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, according to the website. Despite providing Ukraine dozens of billions of dollars in military assistance since the invasion began more than a year ago, President Joe Biden has said U.S. troops will not be sent there to fight, but troops are there right now. So, what are you trying to do here? So, in a final story here, bear with me a second. Where are we? Okay, so in a final part here, we have, and I've talked about this in previous shows, that Zelensky is a corrupt shitbag. He's in league with the Democrats. His buddy is Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. And they funnel money back and forth to each other. And now, Biden's doing his buddy a favor by funneling him literally billions of American taxpayer dollars that should be staying right here in this country and helping American people. But now there's some information coming out as well. It could be from the leaked documents, could be from other sources, saying that the CIA knows Zelensky and top generals are skimming hundreds of millions in U.S. aid. So, not that we didn't know this already, and I'm sure China Joe is getting a kickback from stealing from the American people to enrich the neo-Nazis in Ukraine, yet Seymour Hersh continues to expose the corruption of the U.S. government from those who came before us would have separated themselves long ago. The report said that the Ukrainian government has been using U.S. taxpayer money to purchase diesel from Russia to fuel its military. Hersh said Zelensky has been buying the fuel from Russia at a discount. The country with which it in Washington are at war, and the Ukrainian president and many other in his entourage have been skimming untold millions from the American dollars earmarked for diesel fuel payments. Hersh said, according to one estimate by CIA analysts, at least $400 million in funds were embezzled last year. Sources told Hersh that Ukrainian officials are also competing to set up front companies for export contracts to private arms dealers around the world. The issue of corruption was raised during a meeting between CIA Director William Burns and Zelensky in January. An intelligence official with direct knowledge of the meeting told Hirsch that Burns delivered a stunning message to Zelensky. Hirsch wrote, "The senior generals and government officials in Kyiv were angry at what they saw as Zelensky's greed. So Burns told the Ukrainian president because he was taking a larger share of the skim money that was going to the generals. During the meeting, Burns presented Zelensky with a list of 35 generals and senior government officials whose corruption was known to the CIA. Zelensky responded by dismissing 10 officials who were engaged in flagrant corruption. The 10 he got rid of were brazenly bragging about the money they had driving around Kyiv in their new Mercedes," the intelligence official said. Hirsch said Zelensky's half-hearted response and the lack of concern in the White House angered some U.S. intelligence officials. The intelligence official speaking to Hirsch criticized President Biden's two main foreign policy advisors, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. "They have no experience, judgment, or moral integrity. They just tell us lies, make up stories. Diplomatic deniability is something else," the official said. The official said there was a total breakdown between the White House leadership and the intelligence community. The report said the rift started in the fall when the Nord Stream natural gas pipelines were blown up. According to Hirsch's earlier reporting, President Biden ordered that operation that took out the pipelines. That's interesting. Destroying. Now, let's bear in mind, I don't have enough information about this person, and obviously, as some time goes by, we want to be able to fully confirm all of this information. But right now, the allegation that this person is saying is that it was basically the U.S. using mercenaries to hit the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. You remember that that German officials, I think it was, found the boat that the dive team used to do the damage to the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. And it was a pro-Ukrainian group that did it, but they were hired from another source. So the debate was, were they hired by Ukraine or by another company? They're alleging here in this article that it was hired by Joe Biden in the U.S. So they took out, destroying the Nord Stream pipelines was never discussed or even known in advance by the community, the official said. The official said there is no strategy for ending the war within the Biden administration and offered more scathing criticism of Blinken and Sullivan. Burns is not the problem, the official said. The problem is Biden and his principal lieutenants, Blinken and Sullivan and their court of worshippers, who see those who criticize Zelensky as being pro-Putin. We are against evil. Ukraine will fight till the last military shell is gone and still fight. And here's Biden, who's telling America that we're going to fight as long as it takes. Hirsch's story comes after a series of leaked top-secret documents from the Pentagon and other government agencies surfaced online. Some of the documents show U.S. war planning for Ukraine and reveal the U.S. doubts Kyiv's ability to launch a successful counteroffensive, offering a starkly different view of Ukraine's abilities and what Biden officials have been saying publicly. So let's see if they mention the other guy here. They don't. So the original one who is giving this information, Seymour Hirsch. See what his position is, or what. So he's an American journalist, if I've got the right person here. American political writer. Through a person from Republic, a subset that alleged the CIA was aware of widespread corruption in Ukraine. Seymour Hirsch was born in Chicago, April 8th, 1937, to Isidore and Dorothy Hirsch, Yiddish-speaking Jews who had immigrated to the U.S. in the from Lithuania and Poland. He's a political journalist. Here's, if I have the right person, here's a picture here. His current age is 86. Well, he's getting on, but he's still doing the news. Political writer, he gained recognition in '69 for exposing the the My Lai massacre and his cover-up during the Vietnam War, for which he received the 1970 Pulitzer Prize for International Reporting. During the 70s, Hirsch covered the Watergate scandal for the New York Times, also reporting on the secret U.S. bombing of Cambodia and the CIA's program of domestic spying. In 2004, he detailed the U.S. military's torture and abuse of prisoners at the Abu Ghraib in Iraq for the New Yorker. Hirsch has won a record 5 George Polk Awards and 2 National Magazine Awards. He's the author of 11 books, including The Price of Power, Kissinger and the Nixon White House, an account of the career of Henry Kissinger, which won the National Book Critics Circle Award. In 2013, Hirsch's reporting alleged that Syrian rebel forces, rather than the government, had attacked civilians with sarin gas at Ghouta during the Syrian civil war. And in 2015, he presented an alternative account of the U.S. raid in Pakistan, which killed Osama bin Laden, both times attracting controversy and criticism. In 2023, Hirsch alleged that the U.S. and Norway had sabotaged the Nord Stream pipelines, so we've got the right guy here. Again, stirring controversy. He is known for his use of anonymous sources, for which his later stories in particular have been criticized. So, you know, if I'm going to pull information from a random person or alleged random person, I'd like to know that they're somewhat credible. He's got a long history of writing. He's won Pulitzer Awards. He's looked into this stuff and been seemingly, according to this, fairly accurate and everything that he's done. And he's saying that we're the ones that through a third party hired the attack group that went after the Nord Stream 2, and that Zelensky is, and we all knew, for the most of us that follow all this, you knew Zelensky was a corrupt shitbag from the time he's been in office, and his lieutenants and generals and others. I mean, they're sitting pretty in Kyiv while his people are dying. But he's milking billions of dollars in taxpayer money that Dementia Joe is just funneling to him. None of us signed on for this. I don't want my money being sent to Ukraine. But Zelensky's buying himself a new car while I struggle to take care of my family. So, I mean, I might be biased, but I tend to believe that what this guy has to say here, and I think it's really interesting. So, okay, but I just wanted to verify his identity, who he is, and how he's involved with some of this, so that you were aware it wasn't some random crackpot saying something. Okay. All right, so wrap it up real quick here because we went over our time. This is the conspiracy portion of the show. I've been doing it at the end of every show just to give you guys either conspiracies they're looking into that we haven't been able to fully verify, or ones from the past, the conspiracies, of bunny ear quotations, that turned out to be exactly true. So last week I talked about the conspiracy of the U.S. military wanted to provoke war with Cuba. So, in the early 1960s, America's top military leaders reportedly drafted plans to kill innocent people and commit acts of terrorism in the U.S. cities to create public support for a war against Cuba. Codename Operation Northwoods, the plans reportedly included the possible assassination of Cuban immigrants, sinking boats of Cuban refugees on the high seas, hijacking planes, blowing up a U.S. ship, and even orchestrating violent terrorism in U.S. cities. The plans were developed as ways to trick the American people and the international community into supporting a war to oust Cuba's then new leader, Communist Fidel Castro. America's top military brass even contemplated causing U.S. military casualties, writing, "We could blow up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay, blame Cuba, and casualty lists in U.S. newspapers would cause a helpful wave of national indignation. Details of the plans are described in A Body of Secrets, The Doubleday, a new book by investigative reporter James Bamford, and the history of America's largest spy agency. The National Security Agency, however, the plans were not connected to the agency, he notes. The plans had written approval of all the Joint Chiefs of Staff and were presented to President Kennedy's Defense Secretary Robert McNamara in March of 1962, but they apparently were rejected by the civilian leadership and have gone undisclosed for nearly 40 years. These were Joint Chiefs of Staff documents. The reason they were held secret for so long is the Joint Chiefs never wanted to give these up because they were so embarrassing, Bamford told ABCnews.com. The whole point of a democracy is to have leaders responding to the public will. And here, this is the complete reverse. The military trying to trick the American people into a war they want but that nobody else wants, gunning for war. The documents show that the Joint Chiefs of Staff drew up and approved plans for what may be the most corrupt plan ever created by the U.S. government, writes Bamford. The Joint Chiefs even proposed using the potential death of astronaut John Glenn during the first attempt to put an American into orbit as a false pretext for war with Cuba, the documents show. Should the rocket explode and kill Glenn, they wrote, the objective is to provide irrefutable proof that the fault lies with the communists of Cuba. The plans are motivated by an intense desire among senior military leaders to depose Castro, who seized power in '59 to become the communist leader in the Western Hemisphere only 90 miles from U.S. shores. The earlier CIA-backed Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba by Cuban exiles had been a disastrous failure in which the military was not allowed to provide firepower. The military leaders now wanted a shot at it. The whole thing was so bizarre, says Bamford, noting public and international support would be needed for an invasion, but apparently neither the American public nor the Cuban public wanted to see U.S. troops deployed to drive out Castro. Reflecting this, the U.S. plan called for establishing prolonged military, not democratic, control over the island nation after the invasion, so they wanted military control. That's what we were supposed to be freeing them from, Bamford says. The only way we would have succeeded is by doing exactly what the Russians were doing all over the world, by imposing a government by tyranny, basically what we were accusing Castro himself of doing. Over the edge. Excuse me. The Joint Chiefs at the time were headed by Eisenhower appointee Army General Lyman L. Lemonster, who, with the signed plans in hand, made a pitch to McNamara on March 13, 1962, recommending Operation Northwoods be run by the military. Whether the Joint Chiefs' plans were rejected by McNamara in the meeting is not clear, but 3 days later, President Kennedy told Lemonster directly there was virtually no possibility of ever using overt force to take Cuba. Bamford reports. Within months, Lemonster would be denied another term as chairman and transferred to another job. The secret plans came at a time when there was distrust in the military leadership about their civilian leadership, with leaders in the Kennedy administration viewed as too liberal, insufficiently experienced, and soft on communism. At the same time, however, there were real concerns in American society about their military overstepping its bounds. There were reports U.S. military leaders had encouraged their subordinates to vote conservative during the election. At least 2 popular books were published, focusing on a right-wing military leadership pushing the limits against government policy of the day. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee published its own report on right-wing extremism in the military, warning a considerable danger in the education and propaganda activities of military personnel had been uncovered. The committee even called for an examination of any ties between Lemonster and right-wing groups, but Congress didn't get wind of Northwood, says Bamford. So, I mean, if that's true, it's interesting that they went from a pro-right group, as they're saying in this, to now like a radical left group, which is all about CRT and LGBTQ plus and everything else. I mean, that was a major swing in the other direction from the 1960s, going from pro-conservative and pro-America to really kind of anti-America, anti-conservative, and more the view of chaotic mindset. Even after Lemonster was gone, he writes, the Joint Chiefs continued to plan pretext operations at least through the 1963. One idea was to create a war between Cuba and another Latin American country so that the United States could intervene. Another way, we already knew about that. The prominent Republican is Mike Pompeo. The United States could intervene. Another was to pay someone in the Castro government to attack U.S. forces at the Guantanamo naval base, an act which Bamford notes would have amounted to treason. And another was to fly low-level U-2 flights over Cuba with the intention of having one shot down as a pretext for war. There really was a worry at the time about the military going off crazy, and they did, but they never succeeded. But it wasn't for a lack of trying. So 40 years later, the documents came to light, says Bamford, in part because of the 1992 Oliver Stone film JFK, which examined the possibility of a conspiracy behind the assassination of President Kennedy. That's a whole nother bag of worms for us to get into. As public interest in the assassination swelled after JFK's release, Congress passed a law designed to increase the public's access to government records related to the assassination. The author says a friend of the board tipped him off to the documents. Afraid of a congressional investigation, Lemonster had ordered all Joint Chiefs documents related to the Bay of Pigs destroyed, says Bamford, but somehow these remained. The scary thing is none of this stuff comes out until 40 years after, says Bamford. So just another aspect that our government works against is not here for the American people. It works against the American people. And these people, especially these organizations, the military and these other clandestine groups, are just, they're working towards their own means and against the people and the will of the people. All right, so that's today's show. That's a shitbag roundup. I'm sure a lot more is going to be happening this week. If I'm waiting for World War III to start. It seems like it's having a hard time gaining traction, but it does seem to be on its way. So I'm just waiting for World War III. Too much is happening there. It seems like the global elites are pushing it in the direction of it heading there. This is what they want. They want World War III in order to get more of their agenda put in place, because if they can control the whole world, that's a safer world for all of you. All right? So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks to our sponsors, Keith at I Love What I Do Media, and Buzzsprout is an affiliate sponsor. Go check them out. They help me disseminate the show to everybody. If you want to support the show and tip your messenger, you can do that by hitting right now the PayPal link on YouTube and Rumble, and support the show in the audio portions of the show to be able to support it. If you have questions or you run into an issue or you'd like something been brought up on the show, write to the show at reliefvalvepodcast@AOL.com, or you can also comment on here or on Rumble. Please join on Rumble. I want to be able to move over there when I eventually and very likely get kicked off YouTube. But right now I'm trying to build on both bases, and hopefully it goes somewhere. So like, comment, subscribe when you know I do an update. I'm not doing the regular Monday and Friday shows anymore. I'm going to post throughout the week if a big issue comes up. And if it doesn't, the dedicated Sunday show is when I'm going to be on, probably around the 5 or 6 p.m. hour. If I'm not live streaming, then I will have done it early and put it up. But Sunday will be the dedicated show right now. And then in the middle of the week, I'll post something if a major event comes and I'm going to jump on it, right? So please support the show. I pay for everything out of pocket currently. If you like the show and you're enjoying it, that's the best way to support me over there. And I appreciate anything that anybody does. All right, so as of right now, I'll see you next Sunday unless something crazy. I didn't even get to the Alabama shooting. I apologize about that. There was a major shooting at a birthday party in Alabama. And stop talking to my sister, who's also my cousin and my wife. God damn it, go get the guns. But I missed that, so we got to try and get into that story at some point. And maybe I'll try and do that either at the end of the week or in the next couple of days. All right, I got to get ready for work. See you, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.